Today on the first ever episode of Forge Chat, we're going to talk about my top 10 list of things I wish I knew getting into the hobby.
Anvil of War! Forge Chat!
So today we're going to be discussing the top 10 list of things I wish I knew when I got into the hobby 15 years ago.
1!
WYSIWYG versus Rule of Cool. What's WYSIWYG, you might ask? Well, it's what you see is what you get. And the rule of cool is basically, if I want to put 3 arms on this guy, I'm going to put 3 arms on him. But is that going to make sense to my opponent, and is it going to clearly depict what equipment options he's going to have when I'm rolling dice on the table? It's an age-old issue that every gamer has, where when they buy their first kit, the first thing they do is give them every weapon option possible in the set. And the issue with that is, well, there is no issue. If you choose to do that and that's what you want to do because it looks cool, they're your models. But if you're looking to get into the game and roll dice with your friends, you may want to consider the fact that it might be complicated for them. Also, if you want them to be aesthetically pleasing as well as good on the tabletop, you can consider using our second point.
2!
Magnetizing your kits. When you buy models for tabletop gaming, generally there's a hefty price tag associated with it. To further stretch the value of your units, you may want to consider installing magnets to create different weapon options down the road. What we mean by this is if you cleverly use magnets to magnetize separate arms and weapons options that may be involved or available in the kits, or finding other weapons options on websites, etc., you may be able to maximize your kits and equip them so that they can take on all comers and all edition changes, because from edition to edition, everything can disappear in an instant.
3!
The problem with purchasing your models based on the current meta or what your friends tell you are the best units in the game, and that's what you should buy first or base your entire army around, is that every unit is one FAQ away from being either the worst model in the game to the best model in the game, or the other way around. It might be more beneficial to you to just go out and buy the models that you want to buy. Don't worry about it being the best on the tabletop or the worst on the tabletop, because again, everything can change, and it's important that you enjoy what you're doing.
4!
With Games Workshop products especially, each army has sub-factions associated with it. It's really important that you understand all those sub-factions, and if you want to collect a specific Space Marine chapter, again, it's your hobby, you can do that. One thing I wish I had known getting into the hobby though, was that it's actually more beneficial on the tabletop to create your own custom sub-faction. All of the armies have a special portion of the codex which specifies that if it's your own devise, if their faction is something that you've created, you can choose which faction it's associated with. Space Marines have successor chapters. Tau, you can make up your own set. It's really important that you understand this getting into the hobby, because if you choose to make your own sub-faction, it's actually way more beneficial on the tabletop to make your own, because you're going to be able to run that from game to game as different sub-factions under different rules, and really mix and match and find out which faction really plays to your play style.
5!
Take your time with your models. You've spent a lot of money on them generally. They're not cheap for the most part. So if you can fight the impulse, and some people can't, Ken, I'm looking at you, to throw your models together just to get them on the tabletop so you can start throwing some dice, well, that's fine, it's your hobby. But I wish somebody had told me this with my first couple of armies, to take my time, remove the mold lines, assemble them properly, ask the questions to somebody in the community that knew what they were doing, or one of my friends that got me into the hobby. If I had asked those questions at the very beginning, I probably would still have those models instead of selling them off down the road because I was disappointed maybe in how they turned out, or as you get better at the hobby and as you spend more time and you gain more experience, your painting skill is going to get better. most likely. Your assembling skills are going to get better. You're going to learn to use magnets, etc., and other points that we include in this list. So to take your time and do the research and properly look out and take care of those models that you're assembling, that you've spent some decent money on, it's definitely more beneficial, I think.
6.
Number 6, I wish somebody had told me to invest in an airbrush. Airbrushing is a talent that only gets better the more time you spend doing it. And not to mention the fact that it cuts down your basing and your shading times substantially. I wish I had invested in an airbrush a very long time ago. It would have saved me tons of money and also tons of time.
7.
Shades, washes, and inks. Agrax Earthshade is my personal favorite from Games Workshop, and that stuff is liquid talent. Check it out, use it, it'll love you, you will love it.
8.
A wise man once said, thin your paints, and he wasn't kidding. Check out Duncan and Peachy's videos on Games Workshop sites. They are fantastic, and all the other YouTube and tutorial creators for painting. They are trying to make you better at your hobby, and it's worth the time to check out what they're doing.
9.
The way you paint your models can really affect the outcome and the quality of your paint job. I would say that there are a variety of different ways that people will go about painting their models. Some people throw all of their models together. I have done that many times in the past, and then start painting them. Some people will paint them on the sprue like a bunch of savages. Ken? Some people will paint their models in sub-assemblies, which I highly recommend. Since I've started doing it, my painting prowess has really gone up. But it really comes down to what you're comfortable with and what you prefer to do. Take a look at other options and take a look at different ways and test them out and see if they work for you. Sometimes painting the shoulder pads of a Space Marine separately can be the difference of adding that extra little detail that maybe you couldn't do to their arm when the shoulder pad was on.
10.
The 10th and final thing that I would tell myself 15 years ago is, self, it's your hobby. Have fun, enjoy what you're doing, keep going, learn all you can learn, and keep playing the game, because it is going to give you so much, and everything you put into it is going to be worth it in the end.
Sponsored by...
Thanks for watching Anvil of War Gaming. If you're enjoying our content, consider clicking on the screen icon, which will allow you to subscribe to our channel and check out all of our content as it's released. Today we're doing the debut of Forge Chat. We're going to talk about, did I get that right, Forge Chat? And never start a YouTube channel.